Sham, you can start now.
Good evening and welcome to Tamil Heritage Trust Monthly Heritage Talk. Thank you for joining us this evening. For those of you who are new to the Tamil Heritage Trust THT's activities, let me give you a very quick introduction. Our objective, we were established way back in 2010 with the objective of understanding, appreciating, disseminating, celebrating, documenting India's rich and varied heritage. And towards that, we have a number of events. The staple event is our flagship event is the monthly Heritage Talk, which happens on the first Saturday of every month at the same time at 5:30, which is now online fully. We also have started or resumed, if I may say so, the in-person meetings here in Chennai in the second or third Saturdays of the month, where we have a speaker for an in-person meeting here in Chennai. So now we have two monthly talks, one online and one in person. Apart from that, we have an annual seminar, which is called the Pecha Kacheri, because it coincides with the December Kacheri season or the music season in Chennai, where we take an in-depth look at a topic of historical importance or heritage importance over a period of 2 days. We also run the Indology Festival, which we started a couple of years ago. This year, the theme was Temple Builders of Medieval India from the 8th to 13th centuries. We had a galaxy of 14 speakers talk over a period of a week on several dynasties that have contributed to the lasting legacy of that period. All our videos, talks, events are free to attend for our participants, and all the videos are available in our channel and YouTube. You can look for Tamil Heritage Trust and you can view them at your leisure again. We request you to and urge you to subscribe to the channel and click on the bell icon as well, so that you will automatically receive notifications of our forthcoming events. We conduct workshops, the how to see a temple, how to see a museum, and so on, which are in-person events in Chennai. We had suspended them due to the pandemic, but we are in the process of resuming them shortly, and we will announce to you when we are conducting those. We have a fledgling initiative specifically focusing on teachers for heritage. It's called Alamaravai, and where we support teachers with an inclination to take the heritage message to their students and beyond them into their communities by setting up heritage clubs and so on. We give away some awards essentially to promote the study of heritage. We've been retained by the family of Shri V. Venkaya, who was India's first Indian epigraphist, to give away the V. Venkaya Epigraphy Award, which was won this year in its first edition by Dr. Y. Subrayal. We also have established the THT Professor S. Swaminathan Heritage Award, named after our founder, which was established 3 years ago, and this year's winner, we are happy to announce, was Pradeep Chakravarti, who gave an award lecture a couple of months ago. If you'd like to join our mailing list, please send a mail to admin@tamilheritage.in, and we will put you on the list and make sure that you don't miss out on any of our events. Coming to today's event, I am delighted and privileged to welcome Dr. Claudine Bautze-Picron to this event. She joins us from Berlin in Germany. Thank you very much for joining us, for accepting our invitation, Dr. Bautze-Picron, and thank you for joining us this evening. And she will be talking about going north, monks and pilgrims from South India journeying to Bihar. Dr. Bautze-Picron is an Indian art historian. Her research interests are art of East India, especially Bihar, Bengal, and Bangladesh in the 8th, 12th centuries, specific aspects of Buddhist iconography, the murals of Burma, and so on, related to the arts, sculpture, and paintings of Eastern India. She has an MA in art history, a DEA in Indian studies from the University of Lille, an MPhil in Indian history from the Jawaharlal Nehru University at New Delhi, and a PhD in history as well. Till recently, she was affiliated with a CNRS in Paris, where she was part of the research team on several projects researching Indian and Eastern Indian art, as well as paintings and sculptures. She teaches Indian art history, the Department of Art History and Archaeology at the Faculty of Philosophy and Letters at the Free University of Brussels. She's presented numerous papers and contributed essays to several journals in her career. She's the author of several books, all of which are available on the popular websites. The Bejewelled Buddha from India to Burma, Miscellanies about the Buddha image, the Buddhist murals of Pagan. She's also written the book on the art of Eastern India and what is likely to be her topic for today, stone images from Kurkihar in Bihar. She's also the editor of Religion and Art, New Issues in Indian Iconography and Iconology, the Indian Night, Sleep and Dreams in Indian Culture. Maybe she can give us a talk on that. That should be interesting. And Makaranda, which essays in honor of Dr. James C. Hall. So please join me in welcoming Dr. Claudine Bautze-Picron. Over to you, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. So, so where is it? Sorry.
You can share your presentation.
Yeah, I see that. I'm just looking where it is. Oh, excuse me a moment, please. Where is my PowerPoint here on this? Because I open it.
You can change to screens with Alt tab, so you will be able to switch. But first, if you just click on the share screen button at the bottom, that
yes, yes, this I have opened, but I have opened also my PPT, but I don't see it now. Oh no, this
coming
oh,
there.
Sorry. No, sorry. Sorry.
No, that's okay. We can see your.
Yeah, you can see me, but I don't see my my PowerPoint. Do I open it? And recently everything was. Oh God, what did I do?
No, that's okay. One second. We can see your desktop screen. So if you just.
Neue Freigabe. Aber where is? I'm really sorry. It was working and alle Fenster zeigen. Tamil Heritage. Okay.
There's no hurry. You can take your time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you see it?
No, it's coming up, I guess.
What did I do? I'm really very much sorry.
That's fine. Take your time.
Yes, but it was working. That's why I don't understand what happened.
You can switch. There you are. Now you go to full screen and that's enough.
Missed. Sorry.
That's fine. You go to the full screen mode.
Yes, I know what you mean, but okay. You see it now?
That's correct.
It's right?
There. Yes.
Okay. I'm sorry. Excuse me. Thank you very much for this very kind invitation, and I apologize for this very beginning. So, in fact, I slightly changed the title of the talk. As you see, I titled it now "Shared Paths." We're showing, in fact, part of the path which was shared between North and South India. Why did the monks went to North India? But mainly to Bihar. Why? Mainly, of course, because of the Bodhi Mandir. This is a place where Gautama, where Shakyamuni became Buddha, and it was and still is today the center of the Buddhist world somehow. So this is the map showing you on the lower right corner. You see the two areas where we will travel from one region to the other. I have here on the map located Kurkihar. Kurkihar is in fact a main center for our talk today, but in fact it's just a small village and it's nothing compared in importance to Bodh Gaya and to Nalanda. But it's really located on the road between Nalanda and Bodh Gaya, and it's also on the trade road coming from Gaya up to East Bihar. So what happened in Kurkihar? Well, Kurkihar is today, and you see here two pictures which were made in 1988, so they are no more from today. It's a small village with a temple which is full of sculptures which have been gathered there around. The site was somehow discovered in the 19th century, and already around 1840, a large number of sculptures have been carried to Calcutta. They are to be seen in the Indian Museum. In the course of time, sculptures in stone were discovered and brought to Patna. Then in 1930, a discovery brought a number of bronzes, which are also kept now in Patna. So Kurkihar is not related to any moment of the Buddha's life. It's not one of these monasteries which is recorded in Tibetan sources, a place of learning, but still it is a place of pilgrimage. We will see in a moment why, and have now downloaded from internet some weeks ago some pictures of the temple as it is today. So it's quite different from what it was some 30 years ago. But you have a look there, and all these sculptures which are wrought in and so protected also, because they were, of course, in time, unfortunately, some images have been stolen. The main image of the Buddha, and we have to know it for understanding why monks were coming to Kurkihar, is the image of Shakyamuni becoming Buddha. That's the typical iconography of North Bengal, of North Bihar, of North India, is showing with Padmasana, the legs are crossed, and touching the earth with his right hand. In Kurkihar alone, there are more than 50 such images in stone which have been recovered. That's really the main image in Kurkihar. A second image, which is found in the early period, meaning 8th of 8th, early 9th century in Kurkihar, and which explains the importance of the site, is that Kurkihar is most probably the site of Kukuta Padagiri. So what is this? Well, when the Buddha was going to pass away, he gave his monachal robe to Mahakashyapa. Mahakashyapa then took refuge, shelter in a mountain. The mountain closed on him, and this is to say the Cox Feeds mountain or hill, which is identified with Kurkihar. And what is Mahakashyapa doing with the robe of the Buddha? Well, he's waiting for the Buddha of the future, for Maitreya to come. When Maitreya will come, then he will give the robe of the Buddha. So there is somehow the Dharma is passed from Shakyamuni to Maitreya. And one found in Kurkihar, these are the two images on the left screen, like the image on the right, which is in Sultanganj, image of the Buddha standing, making the gesture of giving, Varada Mudra, and you have at his feet, in fact, not a monk. He has, in fact, a small cross on his head like the Buddha. This is Maitreya, here also, here also. This is an iconography which you found all through, starting from Sarnath till Maharashtra in North Bangladesh. So the site is important for that reason also, as being a place where the Dharma will be transferred from the Buddha of the past, Shakyamuni, to the Buddhas of the future, Maitreya. So now let's see these images with which we are concerned here, which are the images which have inscriptions and which were donated by monks from Kanchi or from other parts of South India, as we will see. So I will first show you a series of these images, and then we will see if there is any relation stylistically between the image of Kurkihar and those from Tamil Nadu, mainly Nagapattinam. So what do you have here? You have here typical iconography of of Eastern India, and you have in fact two monks who are here kneeling and worshipping the Buddha, and these are most probably these two monks, Buddha Varman and Dharma Varman, who are said to come from Kanchi. So they both together, they make all the journey from south to Kurkihar and had this image cast for them, which is the typical iconography of the site, as I said, and they had themselves also venerating there. So they are somehow immortalized in this site. Here are two other images which were given by one single monk, Viryavarma, and also from Kanchi. And this is also interesting choice of the monk. I mean, the monk asked, I want to have this image cast for me. So he is the one who decides which iconography will be represented. So what you have here, in fact, are probably the two fundamental moments of Buddhism. This is where Shakyamuni becomes Buddha, as I said, with the hand in Bhumis Pachamudra. But of course, if Shakyamuni would have become Buddha and would not have given his teaching, there would be no Buddhism today. So he went to Sarnath, as we know, and he gave there the first sermon. This is the scene which is here illustrated. So the monk, Viryavarman, was very much well aware by selecting these two moments of the Buddha life to be represented, that these two moments are really fundamental images, concept of the Buddhism. I mean, this is the moment where Shakyamuni becomes Buddha. This is the moment where the Sangha is founded, practically. Some more images, sometimes different iconography. This was his standing with the hand in Varada, in Abhaya Mudra, in protection. Sometimes the inscription, as you see, gives the name of the village from where the monk was coming. Sometimes just the name Kanchi is given. Here again, the Bhumis Pachamudra, so the awakening of the Buddha. I must say also, when looking at this image here, or this one, the style is really the style of the image which are cast at that period in Bihar. So there's nothing to do with Nagapatinam or with bronzes from Tamil Nadu at this level. So another monk also donated, in fact, a bell for a temple which was there existing. So the inscription run there below, as you see. And then there are some images also in stones which have inscriptions referring to monks from the source. And here you have the translation from Debalamitra. She wrote a very long article on the depiction of the 8 great bodhisattvas around the Buddha, which is a topic which appears in Bihar in the early 9th century, coming from Ellora, in fact. And where you see, in fact, that the monk is not coming really from Kanchi, but from Andhra Vishaya. And he had a temple which was built, and this was probably a lintel to the temple, where there was an image of Avalokiteshvara, who had Amitabha on his head. And it might be, it is possible, it's just a possibility, that the temple with the Saurajapani is temple which had this image, because the inscription was read below with the name of Kanchi also being given. So this might be also a Avalokiteshvara which had been given by a monk from Kanchi, and maybe this image was in the temple which is mentioned here, but just maybe, let's be careful. A second lintel showing the Buddha teaching surrounded by the 8 bodhisattvas was then given by a Stavira, a monk from Kanchi. So you see that this iconography of the Buddha teaching with the 8 bodhisattva is in fact a motif of a mandala. Particularly, you have to imagine the Buddha at the center and the 8 bodhisattva around him. And this mandala, this concept, in fact, is first found in Ellora. And from Ellora, it shifted to Bihar. Then 2 other images from Kurkihar. One is in the pedestal is in the British Museum. The Tara is in the Indian Museum. The inscription there mentioned Cholika district, Cholika Vishaya. And so there we are, of course, in the realm of the Cholas. The Tara at Kurkihar is with Avalokiteshvara, the main female deity, Avalokiteshvara, the male. In fact, the iconography of Kurkihar is Mahayana. There is no Vajrayana tendency. It's really Mahayana, typical, the Buddha, Avalokiteshvara, and the Tara. These are the main deities, main characters to be depicted and worshipped. Then coming from the area of Vengi Vishaya, you have then 2 other images. One is a Buddha teaching, and the other one is a Bodhisattva. So you see that the iconography is in fact very limited. You have the Tara, you have Avalokiteshvara or Bodhisattva, or you have the Buddha teaching or making the Bhumisparsha mudra. So this is, so now shifting slowly, towards what happens in South India. We have here two bronzes, which are both from Kurkihar, but one is seated, one is standing, but that's not the point here. This one is standing with both shoulders covered, with circular lines inside to show the pleats of the dress. This one, on the contrary, has a plain dress, no folds, as you see. And this, of course, reminds of what we have in South India, as we will see after a moment. So here are some, this is the one we have just seen, with inscription from the monk from Kanchi. These are two which are not labeled, but they show the very same iconography in Kurkihar. And what you see is that both shoulders are covered, the folds are very regularly incised. You see that the lower edge of the dress is very neatly depicted with very small, tiny folds, making a wave. And then we shift to the south, and you have a completely different perception, or aesthetic perception of the image of the Buddha. The Buddha stands with the Abhaya Mudra, but the right shoulder is naked. No folds are incised on the dress. And the lower part, as you see, is really much clearer and much more sober than in North India. You have just a straight horizontal line, not this small wave. So this is a different, really, you have the Buddha also. If I go back here, and if you pay attention to this one, you see that in fact, he's not really in a frontal presentation. He's slightly moving. You see his right knee is coming slightly in front, as if he would start walking. In the south, the Buddha doesn't move, really looks at the devotee. This way of representing the Buddha, like you have it in the south, in fact, you find it in the late 8th or early 9th century in Kurkihar also. And it's a bit troublesome, I must say, because I really do not know, is it an influence from the south, meaning where the artist in Kurkihar, there are 3 stone images, were the artists in Kurkihar aware of what was done in the south, which is a possibility, or you see here, for instance, that you have this straight line like you have in south for showing the edge of the garment. But like in the north, he has both shoulder covered, but no pleats. So one can wonder, I wonder how the artist, whether it's those casting the image or carving the images, were aware of what was happening in the south. I think the monks who were coming and visiting the site, in fact, these monks were carrying with them images. Monks carried always images with them, small images. And coming in a place like Kurkihar, when they wanted to have an image cast for them, they could have shown the artist and say, look, this I would like to have like that or like that. Or the artist in Kurkihar could find it like a challenge to introduce features coming from the south. So let's compare, for instance, these 2 images where you can see more clearly the differences. The right shoulder is bare, covered, the folds, plain dress, these lines which are smartly curved, and this wave of the folds. And here in contrary, you have in fact the plain line, and then the major difference and the typical feature of South Indian bronze or Buddha image, bronze or stone. This is a flame, the flame in place of the Ushnisha. Here you have the Ushnisha. Now, when looking at the Nagapatinam bronzes, which is a major, large group of bronzes, just like you observed Kurkihar, I mentioned the plain dress like you have in the south. Here in Nagapattinam, you have images which looks like as if they would have been done in the north, but they are not done in the north. They have really the facial features of South Indian bronzes, and they have all these typical features which is a flame in place of the Usnisha. But here you have 4 images which were made in Nagapattinam, but with a strong influence, with elements coming from the north, both shoulder covered, the folds inside, the small tiny folds in the lower part. And Ramachandran, who published in 1954 the lot of bronze which are in Chennai, in fact already observed this. He said it's like Nalanda. It's true. This is really because at that time Kurkihar bronzes were they were known but not so well published. It's true. This is really a typical way of showing the Buddha in the north, in Bihar, but still it's really a genuine Nagapattinam product. Then going into detail in these images, here you have on the left screen Nagapattinam, on the right Kurkihar bronzes. Apart from the fact that he has plain dress, and here he has a dress with a folded very, very carefully in relief, in fact, not in size shown. If you look at the flap of the dress, of the rope, which falls on his shoulder, you see that here you have also a very clear rectangular motif, very clear lines showing the flap. Here, the artist don't like so much this treatment, and you have here also these very tiny waves showing the extremity of the rope, and also a very thick flap here. Another feature which shows different aesthetic understanding of the image is the fact that the lower part of the rope here, you have it here with this tiny wave which cover the lotus. Here there is nothing. And then of course the Padmasana, the legs properly crossed in Kurkihar. This is not the case in the south, where you have one foot lying above the other. So the legs are not crossed. This is also what you observe in stone. We were in 2 examples of cast image. Here you have 2 images of carved image, and you see much better here because the sculpture is larger. This very, very neatly carved edge and the very thick flap. Here you have the flap, which is very, very clearly drawn. Also, the legs have a different position. You see here also the extremity, the lower part of his rope. Here there is nothing. So you see there are differences which are quite very strong in the approach of the realization of the image. This also you see in bronze, but this is Nagapattinam bronze on the right screen. The 2 here in the center and left, they are from Kurkihar. And what do you observe? You observe the plain dress like in the south, and you observe also the very simple flap of the dress, like of the robe, like in the south. So here one can really surmise that though the artists who made these 2 images here, they were aware of what was happening in the south. So the monks who came from Kanchi to Kurkihar, they must have also carried image with them. And they might have then showed it to the local artists. Maybe the monks say, this is how it has to be. This is also how I wear my dress, my robe. Or maybe the artist said, well, let's start something new. It's just speculation then, and to see why it is like that. So here, 2 images from Kurkihar, one from Nagapattinam, and a feature which is extremely, extremely rare in the north, and which really shows the influence from the bronze from the south, is to see this is the flame on the Usnisha. This is a Kurkihar bronze. Here also you have a small elements, but here these flames, this is evidence that here the artist saw how it was made in the south. Another way, I want to compare another bronze, which was also from Nagapattinam. It was one of the very first 5 pieces which were discovered in in 1856, yes, this is the only existing engraving depiction of this image. I have no idea where it is, and Ramachandran published also this engraving in his catalogue of the Madras Museum, Chennai Museum, excuse me. He also did not know where it could be, but I show it together with this group of small bronzes from Kurkihar to show you that also various deity or Buddha could be seated on a lotus, and in the back you have a large circular aura, a mandala, with a row of flames. This is what you have here. Keeping still the very same Buddha from Nagapattinam and comparing it to these two images also from Kurkihar, you see also that artists like to multiply the number of motifs adorning this back. One thing, something which is rarely seen in Nagapattinam is that the Buddha is making the Bhumispasha mudra. It's not meditation gesture, which is typical of the Buddha in South. And yes, he is also showing the Padmasana, the legs are crossed, like you have here. So again, when this was made, the artist must have seen an image from the north. In Chennai Museum, there are two such similar examples where you see that the Buddha, both from Nagapattinam, it's the Bhumispasha mudra, so the typical gesture of the north, is the Padmasana also. The legs are crossed, like in the north, like in this one, but otherwise the features are really Nagapattinam, the flame, the plain dress, the flap on the shoulder. So looking now at stone images, I mean, these are three images from Tamil Nadu. This you must ignore because apparently this is a contemporary, some element which has been added to the sculpture. But I show it because this is a typical stone image of the Buddha, which you find in a number of villages and temples. This one is really similar, but when you look at this standing one, you see that also the influence from the north could be seen in carving stone image, although it's very, very rare, with the plates which are just in size, which these two lines, curved lines of the edge, lower edge of the rope, and these tiny folds. So again, he has influence from the north. He doesn't have the flames. This, I do not know. It seems that he is starting to have a small Ushnisha. So here again, you have another element which shows that this image, somehow the artist doing this image took inspiration from something, some example which he had seen from the north. Otherwise, it's really the typical Dravidian image. So apart from this Buddha image, the monks also could donate other images, like these two monks, both from Kanchi, who offered these two images of the green Tara. As I said, this is the language in Kurkihar is really Mahayana, the iconographic language. And then in the group of bronze found from Nagapattinam, you had this image, which is probably an import from the north. Compare it to this late, I mean, this 11th century image of the Tara, which is also from Kurkihar. You see, this is early, it's 9th century. This is really typical image from the Tara in the north at that period. Some fragments are also there. Here you have a pedestal, for instance, which is interesting because it gives the origin somehow of the monk who had been first a Brahmin, and which came from a village around Kanchi. The inscription is on the back, and the upper part is lost. In fact, just the pedestal. There is another pedestal here, which is also interesting because the monks came from Kanchi, but in fact, he originated from Kerala. So you see that's a number of monks from source, not only Kerala, also we had the monks from Andhra Pradesh, we're from Vengi region. I mean, they the movement was continuous. And I shall conclude this first part on Buddhist monks traveling with this image. This is a manuscript which is in Cambridge and which is illustrated with, I would say, the famous images of the Buddhist world. This is a topic which you find also in manuscripts from Bengal and also in some wall paintings or cloth paintings from Central Asia, where you have a kind of map of the Buddhist world with the main images which are worshipped there or there. And the legend, this is this image here, is in fact written here. And this is what you can read. You can see that the Vasudhara, in fact, she is worshipped in Kanchi Nagari, in the city of Kanchi. So you have quite a number of elements like that, which shows that there was a quite important relationship and exchange of information in art between source, between Tamil Nadu and between, more specifically, Kurkihar, but I'm sure that when one looks more, one would find more in Bihar. So this was first thought to be an appendix to the talk on the monks, but it's a different topic. It's the Saiva connection. This is a topic which has been worked already very much in detail by Ramachandran Nagaswamy. But I want to bring here some elements which have not been necessarily observed up to now. So what is the Saiva connection? So, but we are here in, again, in this region. And now we will go, in fact, to 3 sites. We will start with Sultanganj, which is a Saiva pilgrimage site on the Ganga. We will also go to Mundeshwari, which as the name gives the name of a goddess. And we will shortly go to Paralpur. So, well, Sultanganj was an island on the Ganga. This is a photo of the 19th century, and this is a recent picture. And I give both because you can see that there are a number of boulders here around. Most of them are carved, they have reliefs, but most of them today are completely hidden by a temple, which is somehow protecting and covering the entire island. This is the temple here. And from the temple, you have a look on a hill with a mosque at the top. And here, down here, are numbers of boulders. And I want to show you these boulders is detailed here. And on these boulders here, you have another one with relief, which is this one here. So, though it is a Saiva pilgrimage site, one must know that on the main temple, the main images are images of Vishnu, of avatars, and of Surya. And in between, you have image of Uma Maheshwara and Ganesha, and some image of lingas. This is different there on the bottom of this, the Murari hill, the mosque hill. There you have, when you look at that, you see here we have still a remain of a Surya image. Here you have Ekamukha Linga. Then you have here this group. So this is a group of 5 images. Here you have again Ekamukha Linga. Here you have an ascetic goddess, and pay attention to the fact that the donator, the worshipper, is here depicted. And then you have 3 images in the center. Here is a Eka Pada Shiva, which is quite rare in Bengal, but most probably this relates to Odisha, where you have quite a number of such images. Here you recognize Skanda on his peacock, and then you have her. There's you there in Tamil world, you must know her. It's Durga standing on the buffalo head. This is really a very rare example. And I think that this might have been done at the request, in fact, of pilgrims, because the site was a pilgrimage site. But it's not the only one in Bihar. In the western side, western part of Bihar, you have an early temple also, 6th, 7th century, Mundeshwari temple, where you have a fragments of what must have been also a Durga standing on the buffalo head. And the main image in the temple is in fact Durga sitting astride on the buffalo. You see here his horns. So the demon being tamed is here the Vahana of the goddess. So what these two early examples, 7th century. And then you go to South India. This is really an iconography. I don't deal with it, but this is one of the earliest examples, the one from Hamalapuram, where you have more than one. But it's really a classical example of the Durga iconography in Tamil Nadu. But the solution is not, I cannot say, oh, it comes from the north. This I want to say. This is because the situation is much more difficult, because you have this Gupta sculpture from Besnagar, which is apparently the earliest example. And there you are not in Bihar and you are not in Tamil Nadu. So, but there also it's isolated. So somehow it's an iconography which was started at different regions, but really settled, was really well established in Tamil Nadu. Then we go to Parapur. Well, Parapur, you must ask why Parapur, because Parapur is, of course, a major Buddhist site in North Bangladesh. You have here a view of the site today with a temple, which is very, very large. It's within a square enclosure with all the rooms of the monks all around. The temple, in fact, has a series of terracotta panels, but at a level which is not seen because it's underground. You have a series of stone images which probably came from a Hindu temple which used to be standing in the area. And you have a number of images showing various aspects of the Krishna's life, or you have Dikpalas, various aspects of Shiva, and this relief which has been very properly identified by Gurishwar Bhattacharya. So here you have an image unique also in Bengal, Bihar, of Shiva as a beggar. It's really the narration which is here told. You know, we have the wives of the ascetics who are charmed by the god, and the ascetics here are not very happy about the situation coming here. This is really narrative. There is no, it's not an icon. Then going to the south, you have again, this is again Parapur. You have a small panel in Pulamangal, where we have also the narration. You have here the wives, and here also Kanchipuram. Again, here you see the ascetic. So after this Pulamangal and Kanchipuram, you have again the most typical representation of Shiva as a beggar, which is typical in the south, as you see it here, either in a bronze or in stone images. So one can ask, but why? How is it possible you have something like that in the north, in very far away there in North Bangladesh? Well, it's not surprising. North Bangladesh, North Bengal, I mean, let's say undivided Bengal, north, in fact, is a center of Saiva activities from a very early period. And exchanges between two regions were very intensive. For instance, you have here this Shiva dancing. I have given the name of the temple where it is kept. In fact, it is probably, it's not part of a loot somewhere in the north. It must have been brought by a Raja Guru. The founder of the temple was a Chola ruler. And sorry, I'm shifting to German, sorry. Its Raja Guru came from Gauda. Gauda means Bengal. I mean, you have a number of Raja Guru who were coming from Bengal, but this, there was there, and then the Nagaswami, as I mentioned, dealt with this material and going through all the inscriptions. He mentioned, for instance, that in some inscriptions are mentioned Bhattacharyas or Gangulis. I mean, these are names which are no Tamil at all, but which are a typical Bengali name. So you have here this quite outstanding cast image of Shiva, which is extremely well preserved because it was probably brought back by a priest and really given to this temple where it has been in worship till then. We don't have something similar in Bengal, I mean, as far as cast images are concerned. But that artists in North Bengal were very great in casting such image. You have here a depiction of the marriage of Shiva and Parvati, which is kept in the Varendra Research Museum in Rajshahi, which shows you how the artist could really create very elaborated composition with a number of attendants. I mean, creating really a three-dimensional sculptures. You must know also these cast images are much smaller than the classical Chola bronzes. And something typical also from Bengal at that time, 11th, 12th century, for the cast image is this broad, plain band here with the flames all around, which you find here. Here, this element which replaces the nimbus, which looks like a flower, which you see appear behind here, the head of the dancing Shiva. Another feature of the dancing Shiva, in the north, which you don't have in south, is the Udvalinga, and is dancing on the bull, as you see. So it's also different from the iconography in the south. But it is an iconography which is very well known in Bengal. The main image of South Bengal, which is the region said to be Vikrampur, south of Dhaka in Bangladesh, the main image of Shiva is the dancing Shiva on the bull. And this is what you have represented in this cast image kept in Tamil Nadu. With all the attendants are all around him. The bull is very, very large depicted, you see. He can play also Veena here. He is always Udvalinga. So you see that this small bronze really belongs to this Bengal tradition of showing Shiva. Another image which was mentioned for the first time in 1934 is this so-called Gangai Konda Vinayaka, so an aspect of Ganesha, which is kept in Kumbakonam. And this is the early representation, which was in this Govinda Swami's paper from 1934, where it was identified as a Pala image, and it has gone on as being a Pala image. And this is a recent photo of this image. And you have him here. So this is the image in Kumbakonam. It's no so-called Pala. When people say Pala, they mean Bihar, Bengal, but it's not from Bihar, Bengal, it is from Orissa. You have here two images from Orissa, and please note the ornamentation on the back. You have this Torana here with the two Makaras, Kirti Mukha, the two flying figures. I mean, it's the same composition, open also behind the head. You have the god, enjoying his ladus, holding the teeth, one tooth in the right hand, having here the parachute on which he lands. Sometimes you have his mouth, which is depicted here small, at the same position here below. So this is definitely an image which was brought back from Orissa, in fact. So this is the Kumbakonam image, and there are two further images which were also brought from the north. The Torana, not the Torana was made most probably in south, but look at the iconography. He has here Naga Pasha, I mean, like he has the same parachute, the same position, the same way of enjoying his ladus, and he has also a Jata Mukuta. And if I say Jata Mukutas, this is again this same Ganesha here. Look at here two, I would say, typical Chola Ganesha. He doesn't have the Jata Mukuta, which is typical from the north. He has a crown. He doesn't have this Naga across, but he has another girdle here, belt, which he doesn't have here. You see also that the streets are very, very tiny, in fact, very, very, very small. Here it's really full of ladus. And the parachute in the south is held by a right hand, not like here. Looking at the back of these three bronze, you see here very properly the Jata Mukuta, which is depicted on this image, which was most probably also imported from Orissa. So it's not only, I mean, something different also I did not mention is the way of showing the ears, in fact. The shape of the ears is also different. So you have quite a difference between these two images which must have been imported from Orissa, and these two images here, which are really local production. So now let's go back to Shiva. Major image in Bengal, 11th, 12th century, is the image of Sadashiva. Sadashiva is the god of the Sena rulers, and they have his image on their copper plates. This is a seal at the top of their copper plates. So it's a quite peaceful aspect of Shiva. He has 4 or 5 heads. He has 10 arms. He has his bull in the lower part, a number of attendants, as you see, is in Padmasana. I mean, this is really a peaceful Shiva image, which is really, as I say, major image in the 11th, 12th century. Now, from Malda district, in a small temple, Malda is also North Bengal, you have this image, which is a unique image, which must be from the second half of the 10th or very early 11th century, where you have a very complicated iconography. I must say I passed some time cracking it, but I think I found it. He is also multi-armed. She is there having the same attribute as he. He has around him a circle of 9 Shaktis. He has a very complicated throne with a tortoise, a lady, a Padma, and so on. And this throne and this image is shortly mentioned in the Agni Purana, which is a text related to North Bengal, but we have to go to South India to find a description of this image. And this is a text from the 12th century. So it's why I give you the full reference where it has been published, the text and its translations, which gives, in fact, the way of visualizing this image. So this is the interesting point, is that you have the image, you find it in the around 1000 in the north, in North Bengal. You don't find it anywhere anymore after. It's really a unique piece. And then you have to go to the 12th century text in the south to find the description of the image. So this shows also the communication, which has been very intensive between the acharyas from North Bengal and from south. And the only example which has been considered to be an illustration of this iconography is this quite late example in Madurai. Otherwise, it's also not represented in the source. So you have still here this image, and I show it with another outstanding and unique image of Shiva from also North Bengal, where he stands, in fact, on the moon. But this is not the point. What I want, and I will conclude slowly on the topic, is that in both cases, the god with his wife, or he alone, standing or sitting on acharya. This is really the typical acharya. Now look at this one. He will, next slide, you get him here. This is not a corpse. It's really an acharya which offers himself somehow as support to the god. And we find from the 11th, 12th century a motif which did not appear previously in the iconography of Bengal or Bihar, which is a representation of the acharyas. You have here a number of sculptures from North Bengal or West Bengal, which shows, in fact, acharya, Saiva acharyas being depicted. They are depicted in a very typical way. I mean, this is, also you see, they have a beard, they have a mustache, they have their hair dressed different ways, as you can see. Sometimes a long beard, sometimes a short beard. They are practically naked. They just have a small cloth here. and they have attending figures. So this is in fact an important in the development of the art in Bengal. It's a major element to have in fact human characters, because these are human characters, being represented as if they are a deity. And this is what you see on this image. This is one of these Saiva Acharya from Bengal, which is inscribed with his name, Vidya Shiva, and is depicted as if, I mean, you ignore him, you can put there a Vishnu, a Surya, any other deity, because all the back is in fact adorned with motifs which you find exclusively in images of deities. Up to this moment, the only possibility for the human being to be represented in sculptures was in fact the lower part, with the devotees, the donors. This is the part where we belong as human beings. So at a certain moment, the acharyas in Bengal became aware that they could also be represented, and they were represented, and as you see on these three examples. And I think that in fact, this awareness came through their contact with source, where you have an old tradition of worshipping, of paying respect to Saiva saints. And I think that it is this awareness which they decided to be put also in stone images for them. So this is on this image that I will conclude, showing that in fact, I mean, there is much more to be said, but I just confined myself to some artistic elements showing relationship. It's very, as you can imagine, very complicated topic, but I want to conclude more scholarly point, showing in fact the biography of two scholars who have now passed away, Gureshwar Bhattacharya, who is the one, in fact, who found art, is the first one who really worked the inscription from Kurkihar. He is the one also who identified the Bhikshatanath Murti Shiva from Parapur. And then Ramachandranam Nagaswamy, where you see he has written quite a series of articles in the Journal of Bengal Art, dealing with aspects, a number of aspects of what you find in Tamil Nadu, which shows that there was contacts with the North. And there are many things also from inscriptions, in fact. So I wanted to thank you then for attending to this lecture. And should I leave the...
No. We have, I would like to have a brief conversation with you.
Okay, yes.
Also bringing in the various questions from the viewers and some of my own questions. It's in fact, absolutely fascinating talk. In fact, there have been so many ideas. I'm just trying to get my head around to see how I can, even broach the subject. Effectively, if I can sort of summarize what you have told us is that there has been a lot of pilgrims, acharyas going regularly from south to the north, particularly to northeast. And in the process, they brought many of their ideas in. They then were benefactors, in a sense. They were creating images. And those images resulted in a sort of fusion of a local idiom with some elements of the South Indian iconography.
Yes.
Then, in certain cases, the entire Bengali, Bihar, Odisha images themselves moved to South India, as you showed in the form of the Shiva bronze, the ones and the Vinayaka idol. And again, the concept. So there is a idea going, there is an actual image moving around, and then the very thought idea that you can actually worship an acharya by looking at the Nayanmars and the Alvars of South India, and the same thing gets transferred to the acharyas of Saiva acharyas of Bengal. right?
Yeah.
So in a sense, I can sort of take these three as major points. Fantastic. Thank you for an excellent talk. Few questions. In the monks from Kanchi that you mentioned from the inscriptions, do we also know the time period? Because you have the paleography, we may be able to actually identify the exact or rough century time period.
Yes, I mean they're mainly from the 9th century,
Okay.
but there is still one cast image which I did not show of a crowned Buddha, which can be dated in the early 11th century. So
Okay.
in fact, the contact went permanently, but they were. I mean, the Kurkihar site was more active, generally speaking, in the 9th and early 10th century.
Okay.
After the production slowed down, also the stone images.
The second thing which is really interesting to me is that most of these monks have the name Varman in their name. Does it mean that they are from the royal family of the Kanchi, if not the main ruling Pallavas, but some of the branches of the Pallava kingdom?
Well, I do not know, but I know the problem has been already discussed by Gurisha Bhattacharya, in fact, and by Nagaswamy. Well, they say no.
Okay.
But I'm not very much, I'm not at all, I must say, aware of the history of the Pallavas or Cholas, apart from basic knowledge. But it is interesting, in fact, that these Varmans, they come from Kanchi, and then you have from other parts, and they have then other lineage names. Yes.
Right. The reason is that at a certain, why it becomes important is that very distinctly, though the Pallavas of Kanchi supported all the four major religions of that time, the Saiva, Vaishnava, Buddha, and Jaina. And there were regions in Kanchi for all of these religions. The ruling family pretty much moved completely into Shaivism, predominantly, with a little bit of Vaishnavism. And today we have zero Buddhist structures in Kanchi, except some loose Buddha images. Everything is gone, completely gone. But the fact that there are so many Buddhist worshippers of a fairly high standing going to Bihar and donating what must have cost a lot of money in those days,
yes,
indicates that they were very active in the 9th century in Kanchipuram itself.
Yes.
Okay.
But I have a question now. I mean, the Vihara, the monastic place, there where the monks live. I mean, there in Kanchi, it would have been also built in bricks. Because if it is bricks, it's in the course of time, it's used when.
Yes, true. But there have been, there are loose Buddha.
Yes.
Not bronzes to my knowledge, but a lot of stone sculptures that have been found in and around.
Yes.
I mean, I know at what point, how the entire, Buddhist viharas vanished is a story by itself. There is a question from Ashutosh Patak. Do the differences in iconographic representation also match any possible distinctions in the Buddhist philosophy, doctrinal differences, and any possible differences in orientation and beliefs of the monks? In the robes, in the the pleats, all of that.
Yes. Well, one observes that the source, the Buddha in the source, like this sculpture which you found around, it's plain. I mean, the typical, and in the north, it's very complicated in Bihar. I mean, when one is trying to understand why sometimes they are shown, why sometimes they are not shown. I think there is at the early period, you have to, unless someone to go back in the past and look, how is it in the Gupta period? You take Sarnath and you take Ajanta. There
Right.
you have no pleats. It's plain.
Right.
But
Very
you
good.
took, yes, but you go to Gandhara, and Gandhara, they are heavy, it's always pleats. And both way of showing the Buddha entered into the subcontinent, developed from in Bihar, Bengal, they had both types. And I don't think that we can say it's one trend or the other. It can be also chronology. I mean, the earliest image in Kurkihar are really related to the style of Sarnath, plain or Ajanta, plain, no folds. Whereas in Nalanda, they will enjoy having folds. I mean, so I would be very careful in trying to link the way of dressing. I mean, maybe there is a difference. I mean, and it's really, you know, the way I look at the thing from a point of view of art history. And for me, I can say, well, this is from this region, this is from this region. These are elements we are crossing. And I try to see what the artist or what the monk asks. But I would not go speculating on.
Right.
Is it something to do with philosophy, with Buddhist thing at all?
Yeah. There were two more questions, just sort of related. I think you have already answered, but still, let me just read them out just for completion. There's one from Srinivas Nagaraja, who's saying, are the statues from the same period? We are still talking about the Buddhist images, or of different times. Are the differences more region specific or time zone specific? That's one question. The second is from Karan Desai, where his point is, does the details of cloth in North Indian images as opposed to South Indian images suggest any form of importance of fabric industry in the region? And did this change over time? In a sense, you have answered them, but if you want to add anything further, please feel free.
Well, what was the first question? The first question was on.
The first one is that are we looking at the geographical differences or time zone? I mean, 9th versus 11th versus 13th. Yeah.
Okay, what I have shown us when concerned with Buddhism, what I have shown is a material from Kurkihar. The stone images were stone image from Kurkihar. The bronzes were Kurkihar. I really limited them. Otherwise, one can't do it. You know. So and the chronology in Kurkihar is a major. The main period is the late 8th, but really 9th century. And going up to the early 10th century, then the production really decreased. So, from the geographical point of view, I really only show Kurkihar.
Right. No. His whole point is that the drastic differences or mild differences, whatever, were they time period based? That in the earlier times, very simple, no folds, no pleats, and then as you go further down later in time, a lot more of frills and designs.
Yes. Of course, when you follow the development within Kurkihar itself, for instance, it's clear that I have shown 3 standing ones when I say it's Buddha giving the Dharma, transmitting the Dharma to Maitreya. They are early, they are very much like Sarnath style, and this is a style which you find, image which you find up to Mahastanga in North Bangladesh. They can be dated in the 7th, 8th century. This is the earliest period. And then in the 9th century, then you start really having the folds being represented.
Right.
Still the plain dress can still be depicted. It's not that suddenly one changed the fashion.
There's another point that I wanted to bring in. In the Prabhavali around the both Buddha and let's say Shiva, particularly in the form of Nataraja, where there are flames around, at least in the in Tamil Nadu style, that's primarily only in case of Nataraja, the flames, right? Whereas, we see that coming into Buddha in some of the designs that you showed. Can we clearly point out where it originated, where it moved? Now we are talking across the religion styles coming in.
The flames.
The fire flames around, even the ones in the image that you have right now.
Yes.
Which is sort of what we see in the Nataraja bronzes.
Flames you find everywhere in Bengal, Bihar.
Yes.
Any stone, any bronze image, flames are there. Whatever, it's a Buddha, Bodhisattva, or Shiva, Surya, it doesn't matter. The flames belongs to the concept of the Buddha, of the deity, irradiating flames, fire, light. So not only the dancing.
But we don't. In the south at least, it's almost exclusively, I would say. Not that I can be 100% confident that that's what you see in Nataraja.
Yes.
Other ones are more, plain. Even other forms of Shiva or Vishnu or Shakti. It's almost restricted. That's my understanding. So we don't know from which one was influenced. So moving on to the Ganesha image in particular, the one
should I go? Excuse me. Should I go back and see it? Show it.
Yeah, please.
Which one? This one you mean?
The Ganesha one. This Dr. Kanit Kumudkar has made a point that the three Ganeshas that you showed from Odisha, one on the left shows a necklace of turtles. I think this is the one.
Yes, you are right. Yes.
And she says this is typical of coastal Odisha.
Oh.
The necklace made of turtles.
Yeah. Yes.
Right. So that's just an observation.
Thank you for the information. Yes, you see, one never looks at everything.
And there is also an image shared by one of the viewers in my WhatsApp, which is a Ganesha in Uttarakhand Joshimath temple, which is also very similar to the coastal Odisha style that I can sort of see. Which I guess must have gone to this the Uttarakhand temple from Odisha, just as it has come to the Tamil Nadu.
Yes.
That's the way it has probably moved there as well.
Well, it's interesting, this moving images, in one of the paper by Nagaswamy, which I had given in the bibliography, he traveled a lot around in Tamil Nadu, and he really even produced sculpture which are in Tamil temples, but which came from which are Chalukya images, you see. I mean,
right. There's a comment from V.K. Srinivasan, where he says bronze making was taught in Nalanda, and says it influenced the art in Far East and Sri Lanka. If so, there was a distinct school. I mean, would we say that the entire bronze making in the Eastern India was sort of triggered from Nalanda?
Well, Nalanda you have very early image, post-Gupta images. Yes, you have, because Nalanda, I mean, it's an earlier site.
Because, in a sense, we have to really understand whether these bronzes were made everywhere, or whether they were made in one place, one foundry or few foundries.
Yeah.
If you look at Tamil Nadu, for example, we talk of these Nagapattinam bronzes, right? You don't get the same massive volumes, spread uniformly across Tamil Nadu. Similarly, today, you have this living tradition in Kumbakonam Swamimalai, continues even today, but not everywhere else. So there were probably only few places, because it's easy.
Oh, yeah.
Unlike a stone sculpture, you can order from a region that is specializing in bronze making, get it to different places. So there were probably only few places specializing in that, rather than being made in multiple styles in multiple locations.
Well, I think the two major sites in Bihar at the time were, in fact, Nalanda and Kurkihar. Kurkihar was, Nalanda, the fame, the importance of Nalanda goes up to the end of the 12th century. Kurkihar is finished around middle of the 11th century. But mind that images made in Kurkihar have been stone image, have been exported up to North Bengal. So you have one image in Mastanga, you have another one, another site in Bangladesh. And as I mentioned on the map, you see the location of the site. It's just a small village today with a small temple. And there's a mount, which unfortunately has never been excavated. You have a modern temple on the top of the mount. But the travelers who visited the site in the 19th century say they saw hundreds of votive stupas, the so-called votive stupas. They have all disappeared, they are no more there. But hundreds of sculptures, but really hundreds of stone image, large. The image in the Indian Museum are images which are 1 meter 50, 2 meter in height. So this was really a major center of production. And at the same time, it was a site where monks came, I think, because it's the place where Maitreya will come to receive the dress, the robe of the Buddha.
Right.
So, and of course, recently I've seen some small bronzes which have been found in Jagadala, which is in North Bangladesh. It's a late site. It was founded at the end of the 11th century. But among the bronzes which are there, I think some might have come from Bihar. And because, when you have small bronzes, which are hardly 10 centimeters, they were easy to carry for the monks, and monks were great travelers, in fact.
Okay. There is a question from Priya Subramanian. She wants to know what was the original name of Sultanganj. This name must be a much later name, Sultanganj. What was it called originally?
Which
Sultanganj.
Oh, yes, Sultanganj. I don't know what is the original name. It's also called a Fakir's Rock. Okay. Sorry.
Yeah, that's fine. We will probably, somebody who's there in the audience who knows can probably post it in the.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. There is another question. So what in the early Buddha images that you showed from Tamil Nadu, the question is as follows. Just give me a second. Yeah. Archaeological, the village mentioned, can it be identified now? Can you go back a little bit? I think he's the Buddha images.
It's going.
Arapakam. Yeah. Sorry, I think that is what he. I don't know if the person who mentioned Archaeological is probably mentioning Arapakam. Arapakam is called Arapakam today. It is it's in the northern Tamil Nadu, and it is a place reachable. I don't know whether the speaker can, whether the one who asked the question can ask the question again with further.
Was it another picture?
I don't remember.
I don't. No, after that I have.
That's the only one that starts with A-R-A. I don't remember you mentioning anything else.
No, it's true. Yeah. No.
Okay. There is a question from Sachin Tiwari. Says, I am excited to know about the rock cut sculptures of Bihar. Why so many sculptures are made out there? Can you?
You mean the rock carved or the
Rock, yeah, I think he's talking about the rock carved sculptures.
like Sultanganj? Or you mean the three-dimensional images? Or
No, I think he's mentioning Kawa Dol.
oh yes, Koradol is so you have various sites. In fact, early sites. I mean, 8th century sites, 7th, 8th century sites, where you have like that reliefs with, I mean, Durga and Vishnu, Suma Maheshwara, which you find, it's true, you have some sites like that. You have also one on the Ganga, which is Patar Gata, where you have the life of Krishna or Vishnu. I mean, different scenes of major aspect of Vishnu, which are depicted and so on. No, it's true.
Yeah, fascinating. I mean, I don't know this for probably it's well known in the academic circles, since you have given a lot of references and people have been talking about that. But from the enthusiast space, this has been very interesting for me to know that there is so much more to know. That's, in a sense, I think, based on your talk, we can actually come up with the places to visit. Make a trip, look out for these, these cultures. I guess some of them have been probably moved to, museums, but there are still many in the local sites, particularly the rock carved ones.
Yes.
So it's fascinating, the travel from Bihar, Bengal to Kanchi and Nagapattinam. Particularly, I would like to mention that I am from Nagapattinam. I grew up there, did my schooling there. And
okay. This I did not know.
Excited to know. But I can tell you that when I was a school student, I had not, I mean, we knew about a sort of a building which was called, one of the Buddhist viharas, but none of us as school students never learnt about the large bronze hoard available in that particular region. It's really nice to know all these connections.
Yes.
Thank you for that. V.K. Srinivasan has made a couple of comments. So one is two artist residents of Nalanda, father and son, Diman and Bitpalo, worked under Pala kings Dharmapala and Devapala, and bronze making course in Nalanda is well documented in inscription. Bronze sculptures of Bengal came to be recognized as specimens of mature art and influenced the art of Southeast Asian countries. It's just a comment that he has made to indicate that Nalanda was not just a school of philosophy, but also was a school of artisanship, teaching bronze making. So that's interesting to know. Thank you, Dr. Claudine, for an excellent talk. Would you like to add anything as a concluding remark? This has been
well. I want to thank you, in fact. And in fact, preparing this talk, I realized that, as you say, one still could do much more. There's still many things which one could do, either the Saiva connection or the Buddhist connections, but still much can be done by looking carefully at the objects, in fact. That's a point.
Right, and much more than the styles, the fact that there have been a lot of inscriptional evidence,
yes,
adds really strong credence to all these theories. It's really amazing.
Yes, the monks really wanted to that part of them remained there, by the inscriptions.
Right.
They are there. It's still in Kurkihar. Well, they are in Patna now, but they are there still in Bihar. And well, thank you very much.
Thank you for an excellent evening session with wonderful pictures. Let me just add that the images really have added so much. They just stand right in front of our eyes. The entire talk, of course, is going to be available in YouTube forever archived there. One of the, Ashutosh, in fact, asked for the references. They can, once this talk is over, they can just run through, freeze the frame, take a picture, and then search for all of that. So yeah, it's available. It's available in the video that we have.
Okay. Yes.
So she can take a screenshot of this on top. Thank you all, both the speaker and the participants, the listeners. This has been a really enjoyable session, and next month we will be back again with another. The first week of next month we will have another talk. And also the third week of this month, there is an in-person presentation. The topic and the details will be shared, and that will also be made available on YouTube. The talk is going to be in Tamil. That's the only challenge for the non-Tamil audience. And thank you once again for a wonderful session. Let me with this stop the live stream. Thank you all.
Okay.